With the upcoming local government election being quite the spectacle, we here at The Conversation aims to keep you up to date with all the happenings. And for that, we'll have on the discussion today Mr. Michael McLeod, the councillor and the JLP candidate for the Dalby division in Eastern St. Thomas, followed by the PNP's candidate for the Central St. Mary, Mr. Omar Newell. I'm Kwame Thomas. This is The Conversation. Welcome, Mr. McLeod. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
So, a lot has been happening as far as the local government election build-up has been concerned. Now, we hear that the Jamaica Labour Party is campaigning on achievements. You know, we can go as far as to say that that's what a member of the party has been saying, and many persons. But what are your views on that?
I agree. The achievement is good. And even in my era, we can outline many achievements.
You want to tell us some of those?
Some of those, I can tell you for the South Coast Highway, that's #1. That does bring a lot of attraction to the parish. Urban Development Center in Marant Bay. Also, from my era, we have the community development through local government, which the Minister of Local Government choose a particular district. 5 districts in one is budget speech. So we're developing the road in there, putting infrastructure like water and a community center. The road has been started and supposed to finish anytime soon.
So we have in years past gone as far as to describe, well, persons have described St. Thomas to be the forgotten parish. What have you been, do you think that enough things have been put in place to ensure that that's not the case up until this point in time?
I think enough things have been put in place for the forgotten parish that can be erased. Because now, if you put, for instance, based on the road infrastructure that's coming St. Thomas, you have people have properties, and properties like a property would have sent for like $2 million. That property raised gone up to $8–10 million. So every week you can see, every Sunday, you see a different team that's coming in inside here to look and know exactly where the development. You have a lot going, because the leg that from Kingston to Yallas, that has completed. Then the other set is from, I think it's 5, 6, and 7 packages from Prospect to Hector's River. That is started. China Harbour is in there right now doing, putting their office together to start at then about next 2 weeks.
All right, so tell me about the past achievements that you have had there. You have been councillor for the division for roughly 17 years.
17 years.
So what are some of the achievements that you can speak about that has been in the parish, that has occurred under your watch in that particular division, Dalby division?
In my division, I can speak about a lot of infrastructure, like for drain, roads. I make presentation, represent it well, send it to the ministry, get approval. But because the ministry, you just don't get up and say, boy, yes, this road I want. You have to do the
due diligence.
The due diligence, and you get it. Minister will send his team out, and then you get it done. But I look at, for instance, I can name them, about 7 roads, 9 roads, to be exact. I remember one from the European Union, that I get from 2007. The drain, right? Right now, as we speak, they have about a $65 million road project from Anthem Court to Dalby, which from the big flood rain in November 19, we have that in place where we have a big breakaway. But they couldn't go ahead and do it, but we have reached a target now, and it's going to be in place. It's already assigned to SNG Construction Company, which is going to start soon.
So, well, what you've been telling me, you've been telling me about things that you intend to do. Yeah. We're looking at some of the things that you have been doing.
But I tell you about the roads.
So here's the issue that we're having now. You are going up against one Clayton Smith. He's a newcomer to politics, but He's very energized. No. What guarantees can you give your constituents that, listen, since 2007, you have been the standard bearer for them and you expect to continue, as opposed to his party having the reassurance that, you know, he is the man for the job and therefore ousting you?
Well, from 2016, I can assure you, employment was one of the lowest in the parish. And then you can do your survey yourself. I get about 116 person to employ from my division and between the entire east and west. Because I don't, you know, anywhere it come, from health service, from COVID, from security, all of those. Because, you know, the sugar factory have closed the door, and in front of the sugar factory closed, people have been going away. But for most of the things, I put in, like even for art come in and do training, that because the preparation that I made, you know, for the urban center, they're going to be like 4,000 to 6,000 people to work on the call center. So I asked them to come in, and they did come in and start some training. But most of the problem is like the community centers was there before. They are down. So you'll have to get people to go to the main office. Art is like it's in the training center in Lyson and Portmorant. But they're really, really taking up the offer.
So when you said those health centers are down, what do you
Not
mean?
the health center, community
the community
center.
civic centers.
Yes.
You said that those are down. What do you mean when you said that?
I mean, one of them, the door, we can't get access to it because it was a former, what do you call it now? The former MP was assigned somebody to it. And we are trying from now about 2 years to get the access to that key that art is willing to take over that center.
So you're telling me 2 years,
Yes.
one key.
One key.
So why not just tear down the door and replace the door?
I decide I would lick off the lock. So, and I'm not afraid to talk about that. So art is there now doing assessment. So can do it. Also with Minister Grange is doing an upgrade on the play field at the same time.
All right. So, so in light of all those, do you think that therefore it's difficult for Mr. Smith to mount a reasonable challenge against you, given your track record then?
My track record speaks for itself because I don't only, my thing is not on for a political way. I serve people. My thing is from nomination day to election day is my political thing. After that, I deal with people from all over, PMP, NP. So all of them can see it and sit and know that saying that, boy, here I am. If they call me and say, this is me, they don't have any water at X point, I make sure I make the representation. If a light goes down, I make sure I make the representation. I don't have to have no qualms about saying, boy, here, boy, I just PMP that side or GLP that side. No. I do all of my representation. I do assistant in every case of PM because I tell you, there's no employment there. Right? It's very low. But I do help around with any sick person, any death, everything. So they've felt my presence at all times.
So as being that as the councillor, you have access to very little, quite possible in terms of resources. Do you find that to be a challenge, considering that based on what you have just described, there are no jobs, so, you know, persons are looking, there are expectations there. Do you find that the resources that you have are being stretched thin? No.
The resources have stretched thin now, but at the same time, through the Ministry of Local Government, they have debt grants. You have debt grants through also NIS. You have welfare benefit all around. You have, like, even for back to school. The minister provides us with that, like $600,000, right, where we make sure the book vouchers are everybody who cannot afford, they assist. So you get help through the government.
On average, how many persons are in your division? On average?
6,000, about 6,500, yeah, something like that.
And you think what you have just described is sufficient to spread right throughout? to get what you need done?
No, don't think, but some of them, some people leave the district on a daily basis to travel to Kingston. Some do farming, which also I assist in that field just the same way.
Okay, so what we want to get at, though, you stated that the sugar factory has closed its doors. Are there any plans that you can enact to ensure, well, either the reopening of that or repurposing of that facility to benefit the community and those that surround it?
I think, speaking with the Member of Parliament, she has speaking with several interest groups who are willing, because I think the other day somebody from Florida, with a group, would intend to take over part of it to do some coconut crop. So, and then at the same time, she always, with the help, she always try to facilitate and see when we, on the local government side, cannot do, she assists.
All right, we go for our first break. You're watching The Conversation. I'm Kwame Thomas, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Conversation. We're joined by Mr. Michael McLeod, the councillor candidate for the Dalby division for the Jamaica Labour Party. So just before we went to the break, you were telling us about the infrastructure and the developments that have been taking place in your division. But let's move a little bit to strategy. We see now where, in terms of the division, there's a 5-5-5. But now the mayoral candidate or the mayorship is in the hands of the People's National Party. Do you think that the Jamaica Labour Party has the wherewithal to seize that division and gain back or regain that post?
Yes.
Why would you say so?
Because when you look on the candidate that we have put out, candidate have more saying for, because when you look at the PMP, some of them is there for a long time, and they didn't do the things that our government or our administration at the municipal corporation in their tenure. But in our tenure, you have more out there, more than. So even people right now is saying that, boy, they would prefer a municipal corporation headed by a Jamaica Labour Party.
So you're saying that there's also more achievements for the administration to speak about.
Right.
But we have been hearing that there has been an increase in favorability as far as the leader is concerned, but for the party, not so much, to the extent that the People's National Party has been gaining in terms of favorability by about 3 percentage points. Do you think that's something that the Jamaica Labour Party should be worried about?
No, I'm not worried about it, because the leader is our party leader. And once him put on his clocks and lace it up and ready, and we can see it when him on the road now, there's a big change, there's a big difference. So once him touch the ground, it's make the young people always have a favorable to Andrew Holness. And when you look at Andrew Holness is coming through, you always, even yesterday I was walking and some people saying that because of Andrew, the younger folks, that's why they energize enough to go, because they see what he produced and the way forward and where the country is coming from to where it is.
Oh, but why I ask that question, is because there has been an increase in those persons who have stated that they intend to vote for the People's National Party. So I'm wondering now if what you have been saying, these are actually, are you not worried any at all based on what you have seen? Because you know, there's a narrowing now.
And I'm not worried about we gaining back council. We have looked for gain more than what we have before.
Oh, so you're saying that once you mount the campaign,
Gain, yeah.
you know, then that would be it.
That would be it.
So tell us some more though, in terms of, are there any specifics that you intend to use to mobilize, especially those now we see that you have a majority or a good amount of persons rather who have decided that they're not going to be voting. Roughly 38% of those polled have stated that they have no intention to vote. How do you plan? How does your party plan, and how do you and the other members of your division plan to pull out those voters to actually come and exercise their franchise?
Those people, those 38%, they already make up their mind and see and say, boy, yes, if they see something that's going to do the change, they will. But when you look and you go one-on-one and talk with them, you have a different, because even I spoke to a lady yesterday and said, boy, you know, I don't interest to vote. I never vote. But I'm saying, look at this. Were you involved in any community development? She said, no. I said, why? He said, boy, she don't see it, nobody come to her. I said, I have a proposal for you. And I gave her the proposal. And ready, she said, you make me, not only you, based on what is going to be happening into St. Thomas, I have to go out and vote for the Jamaica Labour Party.
So you're saying that based on the fact that you are actually underground and engaging individuals one by one, then that should be enough to pull out all the stops?
That should be enough, because when I look in my division, I have 480 new voters, right? And I look on them, and I am so far, when I look and do my canvas and do, I have garnished majority of that 480.
But remember earlier that you stated what, roughly 6,000 persons in your division, and
6,000 in a local government, and like you're have 6,000 going to turn up to vote in my division. You're going to look at about 3 or 4, or 3 to 5 to 4, 3, 5, the most. So you know exactly where you can grab. So you aim and you grab. After that, you grab about 1, 2, 5 or so.
And you're saying that majority of those that you have canvassed are in favor of the Jamaica Labour Party?
You know?
And you're saying that there's enough track record to convince them to stay and to increase the amount of persons who are actually voting?
Track record is there to convince them to go forward with the Jamaica Labour Party.
So we hear about crime being a major issue, and that has been one of the deciding factors in terms of whether or not some persons would actually go out and vote. Crime, infrastructure development, and so on. Do you think there's a sufficient crime plan in place for, well, as far as the JPL administration is concerned?
The crime plan is something you have to work on like every day. You have to get, but you see, the party, the government alone cannot strive on that. The opposition have to come, but you see, all the while they fail. They're not willing, because you see, when the Prime Minister announced the way forward, they're not willing to come, because even the talk, they would back off and say, boy, they're not supporting this, they're not supporting that. You look at the Zozo, look how much of them, they've said they're not supporting, and the Zozo did help, especially in the West.
Well, but tell me, in your division, have you taken steps to because we want to link that back now to political tribalism, for example. Your candidate, your opposition candidate, also stated that there has been some amount of backlash or aggression towards him because some of his signage has been, they were burnt, they were taken down and they were burnt. You know, that's Mr. Clayton Smith. Have you reached out to him to ensure that there's some amount of reconciliation? Because tribalism is real and we don't want that. We want to move away from that in our politics.
Well, Mr. Clayton Smith should have tell the truth. The truth is that when I put up my billboard just before, long before election call, right, there were 2 of them that removed from the district for Anton Code. I didn't quarrel. When I go back there last Tuesday before nomination day, I see him put up all this orange flag in Duckens Field. I said to my supporter, don't remove none. All you do, if you have 10,000 there, we're going to put 20,000. And that's what I do. But when it's thing removed, I think it was Wednesday night or Wednesday morning.
Yeah, last Wednesday
morning, yeah. And what happened is that some of my supporters on the road, and they see the flag them that we put up been burned by his supporter, and then say, no. I get a text message when I wake up at about 2:55 and say, Councilor, we're not going to take another car. I say, no. And I get up, same time I call, and I say, what is going on? And then I say, boy, they burn out the whole of your flag them now. And we are going to retaliate. I said, no. I said, when they go low, we go high. So when it happened, and I see it, him talking, and he put it on Facebook and saying that, boy, Councilor McLeod, if this is and what have you. Then I called my MP, and my MP called the ombudsman at the EOJ, the committee, and they refer me to the police station at Golden Grove. And I spoke to Miss Cross, and then she called him and his campaign manager. And we sit, and we said, I am not into this. He gave me some name. I called the gentleman, and I said, come to the police station. The police need to talk to you. If you're not doing this, desist. I'm not in those tribal
So you're saying that you have the confidence of your supporters where you can actually tell them to cease and desist from that, and that level of tribalism is not to be expected.
Not to be expected, because I do it yesterday, and they went to the station, right? And I said, in anything them do, just low it. When them go low, we go high. So all of what he's saying, but they started, and because they just want to bring a thing where they can draw me out. But I'm not into that. I've never been into that type of politics. The first time I went, I can tell you that, in politics, 2007, a man come to me and show me a gun, and say, if you show me that again, I call the police. And 3 weeks after, he bring it to me and the Justice of the Peace, and we take it to the station. So I'm not into that, because we all a community. We come from the same community. So why are we going to go down that road? Never. I was a PMP. They are meeting on the road. I come up, I know them, I stand up, and I enjoy myself with them, and I'm gone. I don't do it. Not in my favor.
So a political commentator stated that the People's National Party has failed to give Jamaicans a reason to trust them. Do you believe that this is true? There are no reasons to trust, or why is it that people trust the Jamaica Labour Party more than they trust the PNP?
There are several reasons out there where people would trust the Jamaica Labour Party over the PNP. Because look where the government bring the economy to, from nothing to something. That is one of the biggest reasons where you came. Look at that. You look on a leader of the opposition. He called for the threshold to go. The Prime Minister indicated to it, and then he have a problem with it. So it's everything that you said and you want, you get it. And you still have a problem with it. But we think about the people, from, as them say, from poverty to prosperity. And that is going on straight, because the PMP does not love the poor as what them talk about. And the poor, you have to help the poor to survive. And
you think the Jamaica Labour Party is doing a better job?
A better job. Look, I didn't even want to go back so far. Look at COVID. We come out victorious. Everybody that they're comfortable. When you look at the care package, you look at everybody enjoy.
Would you say comfortable, or would you say okay?
Okay. They never said okay. Because, everybody would have said that, boy, yes. It would have gone down the drain. But the Prime Minister, carry on.
But as we seek to close this particular segment, though, you have stated earlier when we were having the conversation that jobs are low in your division. Persons are leaving to come as far as Kingston for more outside of the heart trust that you have sought to bring into your community or into your division. What other plans do you have to engage the population to ensure that they want to stay and build that particular division as opposed to leave?
It is an agriculture era, And I bring the Minister of Culture up there 2 days ago, and he proposed to work with the RADA, with the youth, because it's STJ holding a majority of the land. And there's a lot there we can produce that it can supply through RADA to the, the hotels, and even for export. Because a lot of people down there are the small farmers who do export, like yam, cassava, dasheen, and all of those. But just forget the young people, them on board. As I said, for the plan forward is the urban center. There's a lot of employment going to come through that urban center for Eastern and Western St. Thomas.
All right. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much, Mr. Michael McLeod, for having had this discussion with us. When we return, we speak with businessman and the national, when we return, we speak with businessman from the People's National Party, Mr. Omar Newell. More on the conversation. So. Welcome back to the conversation. For this aspect of the discussion, we speak with the People's National Party standard bearer for Central St. Mary, Mr. Omar Newell. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
I'm doing well, Paul. Thank you for having me.
So, businessman, you practiced law before coming back home. Now you're in representational politics. Do you think, given the state of the People's National Party, that you have the wherewithal to secure the seat that you have decided to run in for them?
So I'm running to be the Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary. Central St. Mary is a constituency that I spent pretty much my entire childhood, significant amount of years. I have strong family ties. I have strong ties with classmates at the primary school, the basic school, the high school level. I've been doing a lot of community work within the constituency. I've assisted a lot of young people to go on to college, to start their small agricultural businesses. I've done a whole lot in the constituency. And so when members of the constituency asked that I represent, it was an easy decision. And, you know, there's no such thing as a safe seat anymore. But I think I'm very optimistic about retaining Central St. Mary.
That's perhaps the only stronghold for the People's National Party in the entire parish, wouldn't you say?
It is the only constituency in St. Mary that has a PNP representative.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about, you had a runoff with Senator Floyd Morris, who lost by roughly 16 votes. What's the relationship like? Because we see where the People's National Party would appear, based on what has been touted, that they appear to be fragmented. What's the relationship like between you and Senator, and does that help or hurt your overall aspirations for the standard bearer for the constituency?
So during the primaries last year, where the PNP had a number of internal contests across the country, you would note that Central St. Mary is not one of them that made the news a whole lot in terms of any divisive or bitter, any confrontational interactions. Senator Morris and I will continue to have a very positive relationship. In fact, we are working on leading the campaign in Central St. Mary as it relates to the local government campaign. We're both committed to nation building. We're both committed to Central St. Mary. He's extremely committed and passionate about Baileysville. And what I've decided to do, the good ideas he has, I've decided to take on and add to my platform. And we're moving forward as one team.
Good. So I have been searching, and political commentator, Dr. Nadine Spencer, I think it is, she has stated that while the People's National Party, they have been saying that the public or the government is not to be trusted so much, but she has stated also that the People's National Party, the opposition, have not given any reasonable or any reasons for them to be trusted. So in that, they have not presented a reasonable alternative. How would you respond to that claim?
I'm not exactly clear what Nadine means. But what I will say is, if you look at the makeup of the candidates that the PNP has brought in, people like Dr. Alfred Dawes, I would count myself in that number as well. People like Duncan up in Eastern St. Andrew. I think we have a solid slate of candidates who have excelled in their fields, in their private avocations, and who have never been embroiled in any kind of scandal, and don't have that kind of baggage, politically or otherwise, going in. In terms of plans for the country, I would direct Nadine to the PNP's pages on social media, and the opposition leaders page as well, because we have been putting out a number of plans. In fact, one of the strange things is when the PNP puts out plans and they are co-opted by the government, there's not a similar passion from commentators and from the media to say, well, this plan is being implemented, but it was conceptualized by the People's National Party. There's a lot of talk about, the PNP needs to put out its ideas, etc. I've been following politics since the 9th grade at least. I have never seen a political party this early in the cycle begin to put out in a concrete way the plans that they have for the country. In fact, the PNP has put out more plans as opposition than I've ever seen a political party do.
But based on what you have said, my question to you now is, what would the people use to decide who's the best to represent them?
No, but it is a part of our political tradition that when you're in the election season, your manifesto is put out, the political debates have become a relatively recent part of our culture and our history. And so there will be ample time for that. But with an election constitutionally due in September 2025, I am not in full agreement that we're at the part of the cycle where those conversations are now to be had.
Well, I mean, if the opposition leader has stated that this particular local government election is a referendum, then it would be, one would assume that it's in his best interest to ensure that the plans that the party has are being made public so that persons can see the alternative, to the government that's about to run as well.
Right, but as I've said earlier, it is not that the entire program has not been put out, but it is not that plans have not been. In fact, if you do a newspaper search of the period after the last party conference, for example, the number of plans that the opposition leader placed on the table in his a little over 1 hour presentation at conference, it is unprecedented of an opposition leader.
Can you speak to any of those?
We can speak to some of them. One of the things that the PNP is big on, and the next PNP administration will be big on, is innovation. Creating a framework, an ecosystem, if you will, that allows anybody who has a solid idea that can be commercialized to be able to access, both in terms of the support to develop and trademark or patent the intellectual property, access the funding to get it to market. That is one of the areas that the party is big on. The logistics hub, and I'm the deputy spokesperson in charge of industry investment and global logistics. And we still believe that Jamaica is uniquely positioned geographically, with the 9th largest natural harbor in the world. We're positioned...
I think it's 7th.
It's 7th?
Yeah.
Well, I'll take a correction. But we're uniquely positioned to be akin to the Singapore of this side of the world, the Singapore of the Caribbean. That is another thing that we're big on.
Oh, so I'm happy that you drew the Singapore comparison, because we have time and again, well, since I was in high school,
Yes.
or even before, where we have been compared to Singapore. And one of the things that Singapore is known for is policy implementation and follow through. How will your administration, a People's National Party administration, be different from what you would suppose obtains now? Because we have been poor in terms of both administration, as far as implementation and following through and monitoring and evaluating policies are concerned.
Well, if you look at now as a continuation of what started in, say, 2012, where GDP of close to 160% was implemented, and the focus became on tight fiscal policy, just as a way of reducing debt load to a space where you can use more of your tax revenue to deal with investment. If you look at the slate of highways that have been put in, and there's a whole plan that IDB had helped to develop for transforming the economy into this logistics-based economy, which includes a mega airport in Vernon Field, for example. What the PNP will do differently is the additional resources, instead of trying to go even faster, because there are two ways you can reduce your debt to GDP ratio. One is you can just pay down loans, another is you can grow your economy. The PNP administration will ensure that we invest sufficient of our surplus into the things that this IDB paper spoke to, such as, and I commend the shipyard that has been put in place that allows for the dry dock. But that is something that we need to expand on. We need to see how we can best support our farmers by improving farm roads so that productive activity, well, production can, we have a farmer in Islington, for example, who is perhaps the largest producer of onion in St. Mary. But the farm road, which is the responsibility of RADA, is in such a terrible state that he can't really expand. In fact, of the farmers in that area, this onion farmer is the only one who has a vehicle, a 4x4, that can go to and from farm. So we intend to prioritize infrastructure over donkeys, for example.
So you're saying that the JLP administration has not been prioritizing roads and such things over donkeys?
I have not seen the evidence in my space of the prioritizing. What I've seen promises. We had the Minister of Works on a tour of a section of the constituency, for example, and he made certain, this is about 2 years ago, and he made certain commitments. I have not seen the follow-through. There's a lot taking place in Kingston, but rural development will be a major part of the PNP's agenda in terms of governance.
Oh, well,
and Kingston is not really Jamaica.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that you have not seen much, because the Jamaica Labour Party's administration, they are saying that they're campaigning on achievements,
yes,
not things that they plan to achieve, but things that they have actually achieved. But you're saying that you have not been seeing those, or is it that you're saying that most of that achievement can be centered around Kingston?
Well, I have not seen the evidence of these achievements. And if you look through the things that the Prime Minister said you were to judge him on, should he be elected, the top line things. If you look at crime, for example.
That has been down by 12%.
Well, the people in rural Jamaica don't feel safer. So if you amalgamate everything, you might be able to say there's been a reduction. But in terms of murders, there hasn't been a significant reduction in murders.
Well, no, that's 44% over this period to the corresponding period last year.
Right, January to February 15.
That's 44. You know,
yes.
That's significant, wouldn't you say?
Well, let's look back on the numbers, but I want to go into economic growth. 5 and 4 has been a failure. There's been no real development of the economy under the Jamaica Labour Party. If you look at even infrastructure, Marcus Garvey Drive, some work has been done there. If it rains a little bit, then you need a canoe to pass. And places like Islington and Highgate and Hampstead and Trumulsworth, which is a strong area for the Jamaica Labour Party administration, have not felt any sort of development or change under the Jamaica Labour Party administration.
So let's get back to the crime and those issues
Yes.
for a second. We want to be careful to ensure that we observe that there's a clear line between facts on one hand and perception on the other hand. Yes, we can state that the perception of crime is very high, so persons don't feel as safe as they ought to or they used to. But fact is, crime is down. So there might be a dissonance. So it may be that we need to spend some more time and speak to those issues. But to say that there has not been any substantial reduction, do you think that that's unfair, or you're ignoring the facts as far as that is concerned?
No, I'm not ignoring the facts. I'm speaking to I'm really speaking to what I gather from people when I'm on the road. People feel way less safe.
So that's perception.
So we're speaking to perception. I mean, I'd be happy to direct the spokesperson on crime to a conversation here. But when I'm on the road interacting, one of the major things people are concerned about is their personal safety.
So personal safety is
a major
imperative.
issue.
All right, so we go to our final break. You're watching The Conversation, where I am discussing matters of national importance with Mr. Omar Newell, the PNP's standard bearer for the Central St. Mary constituency. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Conversation. So just before the break, we started looking at the difference between perception, which you have been faced with daily, where persons are not feeling as safe as they ought to, as opposed to the actual statistics, where major crimes have been down collectively by 12%, but murder, rape, break-ins, and so on range between 8 and 44%. So let's move away from that now to infrastructure.
But before you move from it,
sure.
I just want to make the point that I think government has a responsibility to sufficiently assure people of their safety. And I hear you in terms of the numbers, but what I'm saying is, in the heartland of Jamaica, people still are not feeling assured of their personal safety.
So you're saying that the government has been doing a poor job at that?
Well, the government has a responsibility to assure and to reassure people of safety.
Yes.
And people are not feeling safe.
And that's a fair assessment. We should lay the blame where it should be laid. But we just want to ensure that we're clear as to what the perceptions are. So you said the government has not been doing an adequate enough job of reassuring the public that we're actually doing something about crime.
There's your words.
That's what you're saying. I'm asking you if that's what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is government has a responsibility to assure people of their safety. And based on the feedback I get when I'm on the road, not just from citizens of every class, I would want to put that people are not feeling so assured of their safety.
Well, I mean, to your credit, and that's why I asked you the question again, and I was hoping that you'd have been a little bit more bold in saying it. The perception, or the safety perception, is actually high, where persons are not feeling as safe as they ought to. So that's it. But tell me about now the infrastructure development, because the government or the JLP administration, they are going about on achievements, and you're saying that they have not been doing enough, or you're saying that there's significantly more that they have ignored, and so what they're actually advertising now are not much more than just mere, I'm not even sure which word we should put in, but just bare minimum.
I mean, the government has to campaign on something. And the fact that they're incumbents, they can't much campaign on what they will do, because they have been the government for the majority of the last 20 years. So it is difficult for them to campaign as if they are looking to displace. But in places such as Gale, as I mentioned, I have not, in my daily travels, the people have not seen the difference in terms of their lives. There's a lot of talk about the top line economy and the numbers, etc. But what a good friend called the economy of the belly. People are not really feeling that, that economic growth and stability that the government is campaigning on. People are not seeing the infrastructure development that the government is campaigning on in places like, and I'll mention Portland as well, in Clarendon, where I do business. I am not getting from the people that their lives are being changed, are being positively impacted by.
So do you think that persons are becoming frustrated? Because we can see now where the recent polls that have been published that were conducted between January and February stated that the People's National Party has gained roughly 3% up onto what they had last time the polls were done. They were at 25, now they're at 28, and they're narrowing the margin in terms of popularity with the incumbent. Do you think that's signaling?
Let's discuss further. The polls also indicate that close to 50% of Jamaicans believe the country is going in the wrong direction. That's significant.
Close to 50.
Close to 50.
So you know that it means that more than 50 actually believe that it's going in the right direction.
No, I don't think that's what it means. There are people who, any social scientist will tell you, there are some people who will respond by saying, I have no answer.
Yeah.
So there are people who didn't answer. In fact, less than 30% felt it was going in the right direction. And in St. Mary, 60% of persons polled felt the country was going in the wrong direction.
But those were in parishes, particularly isolated areas. That wasn't a national
no, but nationally, the last Blue Dot poll said close to 50% of Jamaicans felt the country was going in the wrong direction. Close to 50%.
I'm giving you an opportunity to get more specific with that, but go on.
I mean, if I can get hold of my cell phone, I can share the numbers with you specifically. But you're a good researcher based on our initial discussion. So I'm sure you will go and verify that yourself. But a significant number of, and it backs up what I said earlier, which is that people genuinely don't believe that their personal situations have positively changed or have improved. And when you've been government for the last
majority of the last 2 decades, have you
20 years, then people will naturally judge you on how you have impacted their lives.
But how is this administration now different from the People's National Party administration that was in power for roughly the better half of 2 decades as well? And this party, apparently, it would seem as though they came in because the people was frustrated.
Yeah.
And now you're seemingly saying that you might have a repeat of that where, this party is booted because of the same levels of frustration.
Well,
so
the numbers
is it more than the same?
All right, the numbers we're seeing, if you should use the percentage that are saying that the country is going in the wrong direction of a measure of frustration,
yes,
then these numbers are unprecedented. I can't think of when I've seen numbers this high in terms of an incumbent government. Hold a second, that's one. The second thing is the PNP inherited in 1990 in poverty rate in the double digits.
Yes.
By the time Portia Simpson Miller left office in 2007, poverty rate was one of the lowest on record. Now, hear me out.
All right.
No, hear me out.
Consider for 1 second, What I want you to consider.
No, man, hold on. People by nature will say, well, let me see what is better.
Yes.
Sometimes you go and you try and see whether the alternative is better.
And you
realize
that is no better.
You realize that it is worse.
Why I wanted to hold it just now, So remember during that election that you're speaking about, when the Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, she did all that you have stated. That's when the People's National Party lost roughly 150,000 of its voters in that they decided not to vote.
Yes.
Now, if what you're saying is accurate in that the poverty rate came down so significantly, but yet still she lost, or the People's National Party lost by so wide a margin, and you had low voter turnout and all of those now. What is to stop something from that to happen now and you still lose? Because you're saying that perception is ranking very high as well. That's what it, so it looks like more than the same.
If we go back to the data, and you seem to be a man who appreciates data, the PNP base is energized and excited. They are raring to go. And based on the candidate choices that Mark Golding, leader of the opposition, has made, that translates to the constituencies where people are a lot excited. And so people are going to vote in on Alfred Dawes because they know that he's a man who stood up to both PNP and JLP government in fighting to get better health care. People are going to put a man like him in. People are going to vote for Omar Newell because they know that regardless of the party that is in power, Newell has worked hard to improve the lives of people in Central St. Mary. And the numbers suggest that the PNP base is excited. The numbers suggest that this local government is going to have a higher turnout than any of the last several local government elections. And I know you might say, well, it's not difficult to beat those numbers.
No, what I want to say to you is that you're in a safe seat. But when you look at Dr. Dawes, for example, he's going up against Robert Miller, who has been doing something.
Yeah. I have a different take, you know. Central Westmoreland was a safe seat, as was West Westmoreland. I think the population, the current population, and I'm excited about it, it's a good thing. You have to work hard. You have to work for the people, and they will reward you. And so I don't approach Central St. Mary as a safe seat. I approach it as a seat that I need to go in, I need to do the work, and based on the work, I will get repeated results. And I think Dawes is a hard worker, and he's going to go in and he's going to get the results. And even, you know, Lawrence Rowe, who is a son of Central Kingston and has emerged on the political stage. And all across, the mayor of St. Thomas, who has decided to challenge James Robertson, and he's doing very good work now in St. Thomas. In Portland, where you have a man like Colin Bell, a media man like yourself, who decided that, you know, he needs to go in and offer good representation to his people. Doreen Campbell in West Portland. We have a solid slate of candidates. And I'm looking forward to the interview after the win, whenever the general elections are called. And I assure you that this local government election, people are coming out in their numbers because they see it as an opportunity to express their buyer's remorse with the Jamaica Labour Party.
So remember, you know, we're looking at 49-14 now.
Yes.
That's the seat count currently.
Yes.
Now, you are saying, well, it's obvious that you would have to eat away a significant chunk of what the ruling party has to even mount a reasonable campaign against them.
Yeah.
You're saying that the People's National Party now, given all that they have been through, has the wherewithal to go and do what is required.
Not only am I saying it, the two major polling organizations in Jamaica now, I would say, are Blue Dot and Market Research. I've not been seeing a lot from Bill Johnson. Don Anderson has consistently had the PNP leading since last year, January. Blue Dot has had the PNP narrowing since last year, January. Both suggest that the wind is in the back of the PNP, that there's momentum on our side. So we had a significant majority in 2011, and it was reversed in 2016. So it is not in our distant, reversing majorities or super majorities is not in our distant history. It's in our recent history.
All right.
And I assure you that there is going to be a change.
So 30 seconds. Mark Golding, Andrew Holness.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I mean, it's simple. Mark Golding comes to Jamaica with a diverse set of experiences as a corporate lawyer, a renowned corporate lawyer, as a philanthropist, and as a businessman. Was a part of starting the first investment bank in Jamaica and selling it. He understands complex problems. He's very good at dealing with and resolving complex problems. And so he entered politics with that in mind. He's going up against a career politician who his entire experience or adult life has been politics since 1997. And I think Mark Golding, even though a little bit older than Andrew Holness, he comes in with a much fresher perspective He has had a lot more, he has a more expansive frame of reference, and he has shown, based on the data, he has shown that he can bring an organization together and bring success to that organization. And I assure Jamaicans looking on that, like he has done with the Sir John Golding Rehab Center, which his father started, in terms of his dedication and commitment there, he's going to bring the same level of commitment to solving your problems and ensuring better in your... Because Jamaica nice enough. Hold on, Jamaica nice enough for me. But what we want to ensure is that Jamaica nice for everybody. It can't just nice for a few people.
And you're saying that with all the seeming, the look of disunity in the party, Mark Golding now can mount a reasonable campaign.
You're using a script from 3 years ago, you know?
No.
This unity that you speak of.
It's old.
This is an old script. So you need to refresh your script.
Last question. I like the fact that you said that.
Script,
last question, though.
Yes.
What are some of the efforts that your party, the Opposition People's National Party, what are you making to address the concerns of what we call the undecided voters now? Because we have over the years, traditionally, we have had low voter turnout, especially in recent times. And only 38% of those polled have stated that they are willing to go out and vote. How do you plan to convince them to do
in terms of the
so?
local government election?
Yes, well, generally, yes. And then after that, now, we want to go into further. How do we get them to take part?
So we have started. I'm not sure if you have seen the recent releases with Alfred Dawes, for example. I go back to him. And the reason he's fresh on my mind is because the last bit that was put out had him speaking on healthcare. We're speaking to the issues that matter to people, the bread and butter issues. People want better education. People want a better education system where every child in Jamaica has the same opportunities as my child. You're able to go to a good basic school where the government not only paying one teacher, but it is taking care of everything in terms of early childhood.
I'm gonna
people
jump
want
in.
Good health care.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to put a pause on it right there. Let me just take this opportunity to thank you for having this discussion, because I want to hear so much more, but unfortunately we don't have enough time. But lastly, we just want to hear from you, to your supporters, whether or not they can remain confident in your ability to lead them and to give them all that is required, considering that perception is high and the actions of the government are low as far as you're concerned.
I mean, so I'm going in as the representative for Central St. Mary to make better the lives of people there. And some of the work has already started. We're building the first housing scheme in a few decades in Highgate. The investor is already on record. The landowner has already partnered, and we're going to get that done. Based on the most recent housing demand survey from the National Housing Trust, we need a housing scheme in Port Murray and one in Hampstead as well. Started conversations with people in Hampstead. People of Robbins Bay, one of the most beautiful potential resort areas in Jamaica. We have some great plans for that area. Mr. Chin died and the hotel needs to be completed, but better roads are needed going into the Strawberry Field area. And I'm from that general area. And so I have a special responsibility to that area.
All right.
In terms of education, as we have started with Horace Clark High School, we're looking to come and improve the education infrastructure in the constituency.
Okay.
You want me to finish?
No,
I have a few
good.
more.
You have given us quite the
Agriculture is a major thing. I've been encouraging Scotch bonnet farming. We still have a processor who is prepared to buy up to £1 million of Scotch bonnet pepper per year, and so I'm encouraging you to put your land into productive use.
It's obvious that you're definitely going to be coming back, because we definitely love to hear from you again. Yes. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We just spoke to the People's National Party standard bearer for Central St. Mary, businessman Omar Newell. This is The Conversation. I am Kwame Thomas. Thank you for staying with us.